Welcome back in. No punts allowed, coming to you, not live. It always sounds better when you say live, but it is a Tuesday night. It's Thanksgiving week. This is one of my favorite weeks of the year, Paige. Like, plain and simple. And, hold on, different sound. No one knows what that is.
Ooh.
I'm running into the microphone. That's really good for audio, I'm sure. But it's wine night because it's Thanksgiving. And because I may or may not have gotten drunk off of one canned cocktail last week.
Which we need to talk about. First and foremost, let's start with that because probably one of the most entertaining things. And like you said, when we were recording, you're like, wait, you didn't tell me this is 12.5%. I mean, you enjoyed it, but as we got to the end, you realized it was getting you. I had a 6 a.m. flight. I hadn't eaten. Busy day, setting up in the airport, whatever. Like, excuse checklist. And then, yeah, 3/4 of the way through that son of a bitch, I was feeling it. And I'm a large individual. I'm going to take down this wine probably during this pod. This is an interesting experiment, Paige, by the way. Like, I'm looking at this bottle of wine and it's probably not going to stand a chance. So I was feeling it. But I will say, of all the commentary I think is valuable on football stuff, like that got the most response of people were like, hey, that was really great, you lightweight piece of shit. Like, way to go, buddy. It was so funny.
And
honestly, if we were doing like betting odds for like which one of us was going to get the most drunk on a podcast, it probably would have been me just because I'm definitely a lightweight. I have learned the hard way. I was in two college towns this weekend. And I was like, I am not made out for this. I'm too old now. I have reached that point.
It's an awful feeling. And we spend enough time on college campuses and have when you realize you just don't got it anymore. Especially the day after. Or like
a couple days after.
Yes. Where that's actually the thing. A hangover turns into a weekend affair, right? Or a week-long affair. So... But yes, still, that was a great deal of fun. What isn't a great deal of fun if your Dan Mullen is being fired. So, surprised by the timing, surprised by the decision. What were your immediate thoughts? No, I'm asking you, by the way. So clearly no.
Oh, okay. I was like, no. What's so funny is I was off on Saturday and I was in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, sort of exploring, and I had sat down and had gone from like one bar to the next, sat down and like looked up and I had just started the Oregon Utah game and I like looked over and my friend was like, wow, Missouri beat Florida. And I went, what?
Screw.
I was like, no, wait. I'm like, in basketball? What are you talking? No, wait. What are you talking about? So I obviously like check and I was like, oh my God, Dan Mullen's gonna be fired tomorrow. Like there was no question that was about to happen. And I'm sure we've talked about this so much on this podcast, but like, you know how this goes. Like we're so used to this. And I even was thinking about it for next week because I'm off like on Sunday. And I was like, even this next Sunday, it's like D-Day for so many coaches and like, it's just not fun. But as soon as that happened, I was like, nope, we're getting that a week earlier than we expected.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's really interesting in general. Like the Mullen wasn't a surprise. I'm really curious who they target and who they hire. In general, I think, and look, hours before we're recording this all kind of groups together. James Franklin signs a 10-year contract extension. It's a little weird the way the language is. Like, it's not really a full-fledged 10-year deal. Like, the buyout drops after a couple of years. They can do this thing again in 2 years, and they probably will. But what has happened, and we talked about it, is like a Michigan State with the whole Mel Tucker $100 million thing, which is just goddamn insane. But whatever. A Michigan State can step up and pay a coach an obscene amount of money. Like what used to be like uncharted Nick Saban territory. I think Texas A&M kind of broke through a wall and said, we're going to pay him 10 years, an ungodly amount, all guaranteed, weird buyouts, leaving things. And I think that's going to become the norm with this. So if you're Florida or LSU or USC, your candidate pool is going to be kind of weird because a lot of coaches are going to get raises. And I think a lot of coaches are going to I think as I'm looking at it now for like an LSU, who I thought they would get and who I think they have to target are probably a lot different over the last couple of weeks, in my opinion. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I feel like there's sort of a shift. Like, and we've talked about this so much, and again, I will repeat it over and over again. Give guys time. And if you have guys that are successful, like a Mel Tucker, like you need to if you can secure them, because it's not, I think we're done with the age of like stepping stone jobs at the like Power 5 level where you can compete, and have competed, because we've seen so much where people like overpay and then they're like, after a year, like, nope, we're not doing it, or 2 years or whatever it is. I think like, because if you invest in the right people, the payoff will happen. And although they were so absolutely slaughtered by Ohio State this weekend, it was a huge season for them, and still it potentially is going to be big. So it's just, if overall looking at it, I think maybe boosters are getting a little bit more realistic. ADs are getting a little bit more realistic. And people are going to stop going for like the big splash name, like the flashy guy, and go with the guy that's going to stay, take that pay, and stay there and build something for years to come. And I like it. I mean, I think it's a good thing for the sport.
So someone who I'm really interested to see what they do is Luke Fickell. Has made himself into a really desirable candidate. Like, if USC can land him, former AD, but he can also probably get a 10-year contract at Cincinnati, where he's going to increase his yearly salary enormously, especially because they're going to a conference, like a bigger conference now. The payouts are going to go up in theory. Yes. So if you're Luke Fickell, you say, all right, I can go to USC, and everyone can be pissed off at me within like 6 months if I don't win big. Or I can stay here, be a god. I like it here. I'm from Ohio.
Yep.
And I have the utmost job security. And that's, I think, where we're going with this, is that USC and LSU and Florida are hugely attractive jobs. But like, holy shit, the fucking internet's out of their mind. I don't want to deal with this. Like if you're like, Dan Mullen got fired in like 10 weeks, like 10 weeks. Now, granted, a lot had to go wrong for him to get fired, but like, that's where we were.
And it did.
So 10-year deals are kind of mind blowing to me, even if they're not 10-year deals. It's kind of like an NFL football, like a contract where it's like, wow, a 7-year deal for an O lineman. But like, okay, only a third of that is guaranteed. And after the 4th year, they don't owe him any money. It kind of feels that way. But I am fascinated by the silly season. I can tell you, with some marquee jobs and more to come open, like, I think it's going to be absolutely wild to watch this thing. And like you said, Sunday and the weeks to come, it's going to really get weird, which I like. Something I know you like, Oregon losing. So you watched this game in a bar, probably.
I did. It was a record store / bar. Very cool. If you ever go to Chapel Hill or Durham, it was called Hunky Dory.
I'm so old. But records are just fine. So I was not okay. I was surprised by how bad it was. I liked Utah a lot. Kicking myself, I didn't bet more on Utah. Were you like, how surprised by you the way that game played out?
I wasn't at all. I mean, I didn't expect a blowout. Don't get me wrong. I was not like, oh my gosh, Utah's going to blow them out. I was very skeptical that that's where they were going to lose. But watching it, it was like, I told you.
Yeah.
I told you. I said, eye test wise, like, they've struggled. Like, how did we not see this coming? And I mean, I guess the playoff committee had to wait till it happened. And tonight they obviously moved them down a good bit. And the Pac-12 is not making the college football playoff. And we're back to the usual programming, which we've always known. And I mean, it's frustrating, I'm sure, for other Pac-12 fans. For me specifically, it's just the nature of what's been happening for the last couple of years. And until we don't like beat up on each other, it's going to be whatever. But I actually was really happy for Utah, because obviously there was a lot of sentimental value to that game and all kinds of things like that with the players that had passed, and they were honoring that night. So I think there was a lot more going into that in the momentum of that. But it was a huge win for that program this year, especially because they were sort of lower than expectations. In my opinion,
that game summarizes the Pac-12's like last decade. Like, doesn't it? Like that, you had this team with this unbelievable win over Ohio State that's aged about as good as a win can possibly age, and they just got the shit kicked out of them, like royally shit kicked out of them, and there it is. Like you said, we have lots, and I'm really interested to get your thoughts on playoff stuff. We can get down the wormhole, but we have lots of options, and the fact that they continuously. So if you're Mario Cristobal right? I want to go here because it's coaches and weirdness. I think he's an awesome and fascinating name. I think he would be wonderful at pretty much any opening you could have. Obviously, a Florida opening may be better because he's got ties there and recruit well. If you're Mario Cristobal, like, what does this do for you? Does this change your mind? Because he's going to get another raise no matter what. Like, just got a raise. Like, so is this like the tipping point for him? Because I think it absolutely could be.
I would say that obviously an SEC job is very enticing. But again, like, Oregon can have one loss and eventually make the playoff or go undefeated in the Pac-12. That is possible. And I think it's more likely than them making the playoff, like him coaching a team to a playoff in the SEC. So you sort of have to look at it as like, okay, do I want to be in the playoff every year or in the like conversation, or do I want to, like, I mean, there are chances that his teams could obviously beat the Alabamas or Georgias, but not anytime soon. So like you'd have to keep that job for a while, and obviously that's not the easiest of things to do. So
Miami
I don't know.
Probably be. I think it's a good point. Miami may be a good fit there because it's a lot easier road.
Yes,
like you got Clemson.
I would say Miami would be a better fit for Cristobal than Florida. Was that the Florida team you were referring to? Because he does have. Like,
yes.
Doesn't he?
He's from Miami. Miami
yes.
makes the most sense. I'm not sure if
for him.
Yeah, there's more connections. Like I can't speak for him, but like if he did that, like it would be awesome for Miami. Like that would be incredible. Like Miami's list should be Cristobal and Lane Kiffin, and you'll throw $10 million at them over 10 years if that's what it takes. But I don't know if that's enough. Yeah. Either way, I think you're right about the loss. I think it's I feel for the conference because Oregon had a tremendous year. Like it was ups and downs. That Stanford game was kind of a mess. You could argue that they could have and should have won the game because the officiating was dog shit. But doesn't matter. It was real bad. I bet Stanford. You bet Stanford on the money line. I mean, I'm happy about it, but it was real bad. In any event, college football playoff is out. Normally we were very mad. I'm not terribly mad about anything at the moment. Like this is.
I'm not mad.
It's kind of falling into place, isn't it?
Excited. And I also just have to say, like, I think this is like the craziest scenario that we've sort of had leading into the final 2 weeks since the college football playoff started. Like, we haven't had like so many games factor in to what could possibly happen and like actually have discussions. Like, there's a lot that is at stake over the next 2 weeks. And maybe it's just, I tweeted this, maybe it's me just being like a prisoner of the moment. But I mean, I don't remember a year where we went in and there were like a lot of teams that were very much still in the conversation.
Well, here's what's fascinating. There's a couple immediate things that are going to happen to change this. So you have Ohio State playing Michigan, which is more or less, we think, an elimination game, right? It probably is. Maybe not. But whoever wins that game, somebody's getting bumped. The game, though, that is the most interesting in so many ways is Alabama, Georgia, isn't it? Like you're either going to get both those teams in or you're going to get one of them. And so that game determines what your playoff's going to look like. It's more than that.
Yeah.
But that game is ultimately also like, how many people should be interested right now if Alabama wins.
Okay, but even if Alabama loses and they lose closely and Oklahoma State wins and takes out Oklahoma, like, they have a case. Like, they very much have a case. And we saw that was the case because the way that the like top Big 12 teams were ranked in this last ranking. So they're not completely out of it, in my opinion. Is it a long shot? Yes. They need a lot of things to be in their favor. They need to like beat the crap out of Oklahoma. And like, but it's not out of the realm of possibility because then we would be in a situation where we have a 2-loss Alabama who lost closely to the number one team in the country. You have undefeated Cincinnati who should stay in, and you likely have a Big 12 champion, 1-loss Ohio State. In that scenario, like, they should jump Notre Dame. Like, Notre Dame doesn't play in a championship game. Like, their wins would be better in terms of OK State. So I don't think that the Big 12 is completely out of this conversation
Not at
just
all.
yet.
By the way, glass number 2. I was nearing the end of glass 1. It's like a 1.5 but okay. No, well, first off, Team Oklahoma State, for sure. I really like this team. And if there's a different logo on the side of the helmet, like we're talking about that team way differently, and it's in front of Notre Dame. Like, set.
Yes.
Notre Dame is such an interesting team in all of this because it really doesn't take much where Notre Dame gets in now. And what I mean by that
it doesn't.
Is if OK State loses to Oklahoma, I think OK State's going to win that game. If OK State loses, period, Michigan or Ohio State are going down. Alabama or Georgia potentially are going to take a hit. That Stanford game just sucks for them. They're a 19-point favorite. They're going to kick the shit out of them. It means nothing. And so their schedule, not playing in a conference championship, could hurt them. I saw an interesting question on Twitter tonight, and it sounds ridiculous, and maybe it is. But if you're Notre Dame, would you rather go to a New Year's Six bowl and be a good shot to win it, or just get the shit kicked out of you by Georgia again? I guess you rather go to the playoff because you got a shot.
You rather go to the playoff because, even if you making the playoff also, this is like a long-term thing because like you said, names on the side of the helmet actually do carry some weight. And the future is expansion of this playoff. Notre Dame said they will not be joining a conference even with the auto bid situation that would happen, okay? I don't know that that's fully true because it just makes your job easier. And also there's a very obvious conference that you did join, that you can win. But I think in terms of for the future of them, they've been in the playoff, they've done this. So I think they would need, they would get the shit kicked out of them by Georgia, but at least making it and having the case of years past that you've been there. It helps. It helps because they're not going to change that. So as soon as expansion's there, it's regardless, they'll be playing lower level, teams in that seeding for a 12-team playoff like they had proposed before. But I think that helps them a lot. This year, I would not want to play Georgia. I would just rather nope, no thank you. Just absolutely ridiculous. Speaking of, can we circle back really quickly to the viral photo of Jordan Davis this week?
Oh my God. He's the size of a tractor trailer.
What I need is a campaign to start. I need the people that listen to this podcast to please. This is creepy. I understand maybe slightly, but all I want to do is just give him a big bear hug. And when we are at the national championship and he's going to be there, if they win, I'm just going to give him a big bear hug because I'll be happy for him specifically. Because we know that I'm not a Georgia. I'm hey, excuse me. I'm reaching up. By the way, the guy that was next to him was 6'3", okay? I'm 5'3.25". Can you imagine?
Oh my, no. Funny story. I forget what the game was. It was an Iowa game. It was in my youth. It's the only time I've ever rushed the field. Have you ever charged the field at a game? Have you ever done it?
Of course.
All right. I don't like it, by the way. Very uncomfortable.
It's really scary. I get anxious.
But Robert Gallery, right? Mammoth of a man at Iowa. I turn a corner and there he is. And I gave him a hug. Big guy.
And you just reached.
He engulfed me. It was like his warm, sweaty embrace. I was like, oh my God, I'm a big man and you are it was like a warm pillow hugging Robert Gallery. That was a highlight for me. And then I got scared because it felt like I was going to get engulfed by people. But yes.
That is probably the best story you've told on this podcast. Yeah. That is amazing.
That was a hug with a man that was pretty good. But hug. But that he is, and look, you can still bet on him to win the Heisman. He's not going to win it. But I think he's 80-1, maybe 60-1. He's been awesome. But yes, the picture, if you haven't seen it, go search for it and you'll know it when you see it. It's the angle, it's everything, but he's made himself so much money. And
he's just got that big grin. He's so precious.
He doesn't have a neck. It's like a ham. It's like a honey baked ham neck. He is awesome.
Honey baked ham neck. But just to put a bow on college football playoff, what do you think? As having seen the rankings today, what do you think happens? Do you think that, really, what I'm asking is, do you think that Alabama is going to play a close game with Georgia, or do you think they get walloped and are not in it?
I think they'll compete. The part I really don't know, and I actually kind of like that I don't know, Cincinnati is at number 4 now. It's a big move. Mm-hmm. Yes. I don't know. And the results will probably dictate it because Cincinnati's got an interesting game against East Carolina. East Carolina's not bad this week. And then potentially Houston. I'm just saying.
Please do not jinx this for us all. We just got them in the top 4.
I think so much depends on optics for all of these teams. But like if you're Oklahoma State, you have Oklahoma and then what, Baylor potentially? Like those are good ass games. Who over the next 2 weeks is going to play those good of a games? Alabama plays Auburn and then Georgia. Ohio State plays Michigan and maybe Wisconsin, right? And you could argue that's up there. Which looks better. But that's fine. Like they're kind of free of the discussion. So like Notre Dame plays Stanford and nobody. That sucks. So I think that Oklahoma State is this very interesting team. And in terms of resume, in terms of ways to growth, if I'm Cincinnati, that's probably who concerns me. This is like the ultimate committee porking scenario, by the way, for a group of 5 team. It's just waiting for them to goddamn pork Cincinnati. Like that's what I feel.
Yeah. I hope that I don't think that they would. So Cincinnati wins out. I think they're okay. I do think our Malort bet is still very much on the table because I do think if Alabama,
they just haven't looked good enough.
OK State winning.
I've abandoned it because you could even hear it with your bar.
Okay, so say that Oklahoma State has one loss, whether it comes against Oklahoma or Baylor, or wait, is there a potential for Oklahoma State and Oklahoma to play twice because they don't do like divisions?
Baylor beat Oklahoma.
Okay,
Baylor's probably going to win this week. It's probably Baylor.
Okay, so say they like beat Oklahoma, lose to Baylor. I don't know that Baylor technically has the case. I would think
it's interesting. That's where the discussion ends, right? Like if Baylor's at an 8 and they beat OK State, they don't have a great matchup this week. But after that, we could pretty much stop talking about Ole Miss and Oklahoma, I think, at that point, right?
But I mean, at that point, like, do you put that Baylor team in over a 2-loss Alabama? Or even a 1-loss Michigan?
The problem I made it, they would have 2. Well, Michigan would be in that would be fascinating, right? You have 10-2 Michigan versus 10-2, or I guess it would be 11-2 Baylor. No, see, they'd get in. Baylor would get in at that point. I think you're right.
But again, this is a really fun year. Alabama would get in over everybody, even with 2 losses.
They just haven't, since I said I think they're going to get in, they just haven't looked great.
If they play well, watch this happen where they play Georgia and they win, and then it's like we didn't even need to get excited about this shit that we wanted to have.
That is what happens every goddamn year with the playoff. Is we spend 6 weeks and then all these dominoes fall and you get your clean 4 teams and a sort of pissed off 15. But and I'm curious to see if that happens again. By the way, speaking of Alabama, Bo Nix, God, I love Bo Nix. Bo Nix has become one of my favorite humans to watch and listen to. Basically, is joined the internet, the rest of the internet, saying, "Babe, Alabama gets all the calls." So now
he can say whatever he wants. Yeah, it's not on his shoulders.
Alabama gets all the calls.
In my opinion, that was a stupid thing to do. That was a very stupid thing to do. He put his team in a bad situation. They also asked Bryce Young about that in his press conference right after, so he knows about it. Yeah. So Alabama knows about that.
I don't know if it's going to matter. I mean, they just lost. I mean, they're just not that good, Auburn, right now. I think it's fun. Would I have said it? No. Would he probably regret saying it? I don't know. He's just very interesting, and I want our athletes to be interesting. He plays interesting, and he talks interesting. And I'm like, he's had
sounds
a year.
You're throwing shade at Bryce Young.
Who, me? My guy?
Yeah.
No, I don't buy into Alabama getting all the calls, by the way. I don't. I
don't either.
I get a lot of that shit on Twitter. I've written about Alabama enough, and I get a lot of that shit on Twitter, like, oh, yep, it's an Alabama game, right? I don't buy that, but I still find it fun. He's hilarious. I want him to continue to just develop into this really human, huge, interesting character over the next, I don't know how, it feels like we've known him forever. He's only, a junior? What is Bo Nix? I have to find out. I'm looking at the top 25 though, and they are nowhere near that. So I have to do some exploring.
So also this is very random, but as he was talking, I sort of got like Lane Kiffin vibes. So like if Lane Kiffin was a player, like I feel like he sort of gives off that vibe because he wasn't like directly saying it, but he like alluded to the fact that Alabama gets favorable calls. But as Alabama Twitter likes to call it, it's murder ball, and I feel like that's going to happen to Auburn. But, like, if you're not playing, like, don't talk shit and make it worse for your teammates was kind of just my thing. You know, especially when his play personally hasn't backed it up.
They're going to get murdered anyways, probably. Maybe.
Yeah.
Bo Nix is, last year doesn't even count. All the eligibilities.
Yeah, because they get a new year. That's why I don't know.
So he's a junior.
It's impossible. Junior. We don't know.
Great bio. So he's like a super junior? Whatever. He'll be back next year. He ain't going pro.
But in terms of rivalries and college football rivalries, obviously it's rivalry week, which I have to say like that because otherwise it comes out rivalry week. I'm like, how we're fun over here.
Those were pretty funny, actually. Yeah, it is hard to say. I shot a video earlier for BR and I fucked that up like 4 times. Rivalry sounds like I'm revving an engine, real bad. So I can relate. But yes, rivalry week. We wrote a piece for BR asking for their favorite rivalries, and the response was hilarious. I will ask you because I have mine, and I think mine was definitive. Although I was interested to read the comments because I was thinking about it a lot. What is the best rival? First off, what is rivalry week? Now you're going to fuck me up here. Now I'm trying to say it. And what does it mean to you though? Because to me, this is like really special. Like this taps into why I love this sport.
There is like nothing, like Arizona is not known for football, but there is like nothing more important in a college football season or college basketball season than beating ASU. Like that rivalry, it's also like one of the trophies is like the oldest rivalry trophy that is still around. It is seriously so fun. I love
oh yeah, you're toast.
Rivalry week, just based on like my college experience, but like outside of it, when I started covering the sport, it was so interesting to me because I assumed that the Iron Bowl was just like what everyone thought was like the best rivalry, and obviously Ohio State Michigan is like absolutely massive. But in my opinion, I would go with the Iron Bowl just because of like I don't know, maybe it's just because I've been around more SEC football and it means more. I said that in quotes for anyone who's not watching. That was a very sarcastic comment. But I do think the Iron Bowl has had just like so many moments that have just been like chaotic in the like more recent years and that I've been covering it as opposed to that Michigan and Ohio State one because it's just been mostly Ohio State. You know what I mean?
So first off, this is why I love this sport. Like, my Twitter handle is Cags and Eggs. Like, at the core of college football is this week of passion and weirdness and respect and love and hate and all of it. So it all like boils over. And I enjoy this week largely more than like conference championships because you get to sterile environments. You don't get home field is gone like after this week. You know what I mean? Until we expand the playoff. In most cases, I think some of the other, like doesn't Pac-12 play it at home? I mean, but you know what I'm saying? Like you start to lose the luster and it starts to become a playoff pageant. This is still college football. So I wrote a little bit about what you're saying. So I think it's Ohio State, Michigan, but I think when both teams are good, the Iron Bowl is it. Like when there's that intensity, I think the Iron Bowl is it. I think I'm with you on a week-to-week basis. SEC football, and I'm a Big Ten guy, right? But going down there, the environments are better. Ohio State, Michigan, though, is just it's it. I think it's it. I really do. And it's hard to put it into words. The coaches, when you go back in history, all of the historical components of it just kind of match up. And yet, what was fun in this piece, Paige, was like, I love the goddamn Egg Bowl. Like one of my for Thanksgiving, I am so excited. Like the Egg Bowl is probably Egg Bowl is like number 2 on my list this year.
Egg Bowl is like a different kind of rivalry. Like that is like legit. Hate. Okay, so I right before COVID, the like beginning of 2020, the Egg Bowl was in Oxford last year, correct? I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
And I convinced my family that we should go for Thanksgiving to the Egg Bowl because I was like, we're all college football fans. Like, let's go, the four of us. Like, we don't have like a massive Thanksgiving. We're big Christmas people. But I was like, let's go to the Egg Bowl. And then COVID hit and we didn't go to the Egg Bowl. And obviously we're not going this year. But I mean, I think I can convince my family next year to go to the Egg Bowl because it just seems like such a fun, cool environment and like the drama of it all. It is a true hate. Not to say that like the Iron Bowl is not.
This is different.
Michigan, Ohio State is a very different. It's like a traditional. It's like a good. Like I don't know. It's like
there's some respect there. I mean, I feel like the Egg Bowl, and then you have Kiffin and Leach, and it's like, it's funny. Lane saying, it's just football. People shouldn't hate each other for where they go. That's a very reasonable take by Lane, and everyone else is like, yeah, you're right, buddy, but shut up. I'm gonna hate this guy, also, right?
So he was the game day guest picker, and it was so funny because he was talking about how like his son Knox helped him pick Mississippi State. He had picked them while he was there, like in Oxford, and people like booed him. He's like, I know people are gonna hate me for that, but like, first of all, Lane's not gonna give you bad gambling advice, so just take that for what it's worth. Second, like, I think he also did it probably to like stifle it because there is so much. I feel like it's gonna just be absolute chaos, and I cannot wait for that game.
I think in general, and we'll move to, Egg Bowl is a good transition to Thanksgiving, but it is. I get excited for Washington State, the Apple Cup. I get excited for
the Apple Cup.
Rivalry games are like what you make it. Like whatever the hell reason you care or you hate somebody, like you're born into it. And to you, that's the only rivalry that matters. Devil. I wrote about Army Navy. I can't even qualify that as like a legit Army Navy. Oh yeah. I mean, that is its own viewing experience.
Well, it has its own moment too, and that's like such a like pageantry game that's very exciting. But I will say, like, there is no like this is some inside information. Like, if I see that a guy went to like ASU on a dating app, I'm like, nope, because I just know it's not gonna work. Like, there's no way I could date someone. You know me well enough to know
wouldn't go well. Buddy,
that I just like because he'll say the wrong thing and it will be over. We will be done in a heartbeat. You say the wrong thing about my basketball team, especially, we're done. So I just I know at least I know myself and I'm able to say, hey, I already know it's not gonna work. But watch me jinx myself. But no. That is a very there's nothing more than I hate than people that went to ASU.
So college football is back on Thanksgiving. Oh no, I know this. That's why I'm not surprised. It's just a forewarning to anyone out there who's like, oh shit. College football being back on Thanksgiving is amazing. We have 2 games. But also Thanksgiving, I think because of this week, I mean, you know this about me, Paige. Like, this is my goddamn jam. I love Christmas with little kids. Halloween, moving up the rankings with little kids. Thanksgiving is my jam. So before we get to actual games and our picks.
Yes, and picks.
I need to hand out just a couple of quick Thanksgiving tips, primers, right? And it's very simple.
Okay.
It's very, very simple.
Yes.
After this podcast is done, if there is still wine, I'm going to finish the wine. If there's not, I'm going to open up another bottle of wine, and I'm going to begin brining my turkeys. They are sitting out in my fridge in the garage, and they are ready. Okay? So I have a brine recipe. We'll be able to post it on Twitter or something like that, but it's largely brown sugar and salt and just some other things. About 8-9 years ago, I started frying my turkeys. Okay? Have you ever had fried turkey?
No.
Jesus Christ.
Not on Thanksgiving.
Okay. It is... Smoked turkey is very good. Okay? And
I've had smoked turkey.
Okay, sous vide turkey, which I'm going to get in because I'm starting to sous vide now, is very good. But you have to fry your birds. There is no...
You have to fry your birds.
You have to fry the turkey. The turkey earned it. You've earned it. I've earned it. Your guests have earned it. We go over to our close family friends. Our family, I've known this guy forever. Best man at my wedding. It's like our family and it's fun, right? And I fry 2 turkeys. We drink a shit ton of whatever the hell we're drinking on that given day. We watch football. We bet on football. Our kids run around and hopefully no one gets injured. And it is a wonderful day. So my advice would be fry your turkey. My second is be careful on the sides. If your turkey is very good, I think people OD on sides a little bit, right? Like I think you go to a meal and it's like side overload. Like you don't need to have Like, it doesn't have to look like under a Christmas tree of sides. I don't need all of this stuff. If you have the staples, like, what is your favorite side on Thanksgiving?
I can't pick one because I love them all and I OD on them. We are like polar opposites. I told you, I think turkey is the most overrated holiday food.
Oh my God. Because it sucks.
I love the sides. I'm all about the sides. Stuffing, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes.
Yes. Good start.
The green bean casserole too. I love all of it. Cranberry. I love all of it. I could do rolls. Let's just get into that.
Oh yeah,
you know
no, it's carb.
Just I love carbs.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I'm like, forget the protein, but like, I love it all. The stuffing is my favorite because we have a family recipe that's really good, and I just like smother it in gravy too. It's just the best.
Stuffing is the best, but fried turkey will change your life. It will change your life. Now, lastly, to tie a bow on this, and I'm interested in your thoughts. Although it sounds like you're like the Grinch on Thanksgiving, based off of these initial 3 minutes we've had. Is drinks.
The Grinch.
So I have a sequence of drinks. We have a tradition. My good friend and his brother, who I've known for many years, they drive across the border to Wisconsin. Got to be clear on the border here. And we pick up some New Glarus, Spotted Cow, and Moon Men, and we drink that while we're frying the turkey.
What is that?
It's just like a basic. Moon Man is actually a wonderful. You know what? That's going to be a pod drink at some point. It's just a tried and true Wisconsin beer. 2 of them. Spotted Cow is a little bit overrated, but still good. Actually, I have some in my fridge right here. Maybe I'll get one as show and tell. But we do that. I shift to wine.
Okay.
And then it gets interesting. After that, you could go bourbon, you could go vodka, and that's where the night usually, like, you know, I'm getting dollied out of there or something. So what is your go-to drink when it comes to Thanksgiving?
For me, holidays are mostly about the alcohol because I enjoy. So I have a apple cider punch that I make for my group of friends that we have. We have like a Friendsgiving, and I make that. It is like apple cider, prosecco, vodka, and then you put like cinnamon sticks, ginger beer, and then like apple slices and orange slices, and you let it like mix up.
Winner.
And it gets it's really good. So I usually do that, and I start with something that's like either a cocktail. So I'll do, I don't know, like a Moscow Mule to start the day or whatever, or move into like a whatever creative cocktail. I'm also like kind of a big martini person, so I'll do the like hard alcohol before I get to wine, and then the wine is where it's at. I also really love bourbon, but I've red wine for me, especially where I live, like I love the good wine, especially with dinner. Like that is where I start with wine at dinner, and it just goes through the whole night. And maybe at the end we'll get one glass of bourbon, but I usually stick to hard alcohol / mixed drinks in the beginning, and then once dinner hits, it's just strictly red wine.
It's a long day, and I cook. I was just mapping out. We're eating at 2:30. I've got to start getting fried turkeys ready at around 8 a.m. So I'm, by 5:30, by the time the egg bowl starts, I'm like how I was in the podcast last week, except like multiply it a few times.
2 things. One, when the egg bowl happened with the Elijah Moore peeing incident, I was very, very intoxicated, and that game wasn't close, and then they came back, and I remember being like, turn it on, and I was like, there was an NFL game on, and I was like, I don't care, I do not care, I know there's only one TV here, you guys, it's very important to me, please turn it on. So that was a very fun holiday, I remember that. And then 2, wait till we get to Christmas, because the way that my family does Christmas in terms of drinking and eating is in like 2 segments. And like, I will get like the recipes of the like specific drinks and the order that it comes in, the brunch specific part, the dinner part. It is a full day of stuff. Thanksgiving is a little bit more like keep it shorter, keep it more just to like the dinner aspect and the few drinks beforehand. But Christmas is like a marathon for my family. Well,
however everybody spends, and whenever you're listening to this, I hope it is amazing because it is a great holiday.
Safe.
And with that, we talk about the main event, which is Egg Bowl. Let's preview some games. Damn, this slate of games. So this is a Picks and Pints game for both of us, so we can go light on this.
Did we do all Picks and Pints games on this except for Ohio State, Michigan?
Yeah, but no. And we could say Leach, Kiffin. I don't know how many more of these we're going to have. I don't know how much longer Lane is going to stay. I'm going to enjoy this one because both of these teams are really good. Really good. Mm-hmm. The hatred is real.
Although frustrating that the Mississippi State's not in the rankings now this week.
I know. And you thought they may bump them up to like, yeah, sure. But this is about as excited as I've been for an Egg Bowl, and I can't tell you how long. And I do have a strong opinion on this, so I'll hold back. But it sounds like you do as well. But it is, oh my God, like what a fun football game! I'm so happy. The Elijah Moore play, by the way, what an awesome pick by the Jets. I mean, my Jets suck, but Elijah Moore is fucking awesome. Thank God.
I've been so high on him.
I lost money on that. I bet Mississippi, and when he missed the extra point afterwards, we had clawed our way back into cover territory, and then boom, urinating dog, losing bet. The text message exchange on that was rough. We had some depressed, drunk Thanksgivingers. But yes. I'm super excited for this game. We'll break it down, I guess, when we get into Picks and Pints. Ohio State, Michigan. Yep. I do not have a strong opinion on. I have a lean. I'm just excited. And let me just start with a public service announcement. Because I feel like I have to defend Jim Harbaugh at every angle.
I know.
If Michigan, I know, I'm sorry. If Michigan loses, it doesn't mean Jim Harbaugh is bad. Like, they've had a great season. Like, he needed to win to save his job. Like, you look at all these openings, who are they going to hire, realistically, that you'd rather have other than Jim Harbaugh? Like, I know he's quirky and wears his khakis, but, like, what the hell? Let's respect him before he probably loses, like, 40-13.
I agree with you. I don't think him losing to Ohio State means he should lose his job. I think this has been a very successful season. He coached on less money, the buyout stuff, everything. I think you stick with Jim Harbaugh at this point. Like you said, the coaching pool getting a little bit smaller than we sort of anticipated it being at the beginning of this year. I personally think that they should stick with him even if he loses to Ohio State because this Ohio State team is like running 5 on full cylinders.
The game that strikes me, Paige, when Ohio State played at Nebraska, that wasn't terribly long ago, they did not look great. They've looked phenomenal in the last 2 weeks. We tend to overreact those things. Both of those games were at home. CJ Stroud at Nebraska was not great. I think Ohio State probably has just way too much talent for Michigan to deal with. But I do think this defense is really good. And Michigan's going to just sit on the ball for like 35 minutes of like just trying to grind this game out to a finish.
Yes.
And that would be the strategy. So I kind of think it could go under the total as like a little teaser Picks and Pints. But Ohio State's probably got too much talent, right? Is that like what this comes down to?
Yeah, well, and I also think like when Ohio State lost to Oregon, its defense was just in shambles. We were like, what is going on? Like that was the main focus. Their offense has not been great at times, but hasn't been bad either necessarily. So, I mean, they have a Heisman candidate quarterback. So I think the big thing here to note is that their defense has looked great ever since, like you mentioned, like they've made steady improvements. I don't think that Michigan has what it takes to sort of like overpower that. And after seeing what they did to Michigan State, like, Lord have mercy. Like I honestly, and again, they still do technically have to make a massive statement and win by a decent amount, I would feel like. I mean, they're going to be in the playoff, but it would make a better case for them to not have to be even part of the discussion and just automatically in if they get a big win over Michigan, and it'd be by a lot.
I also think that you'll be able to watch this game and line of scrimmage. Like you've got so much skill position talent in the wide receivers, and you've got Stroud, but you watch Hutchinson, who's awesome, and you watch both. If Michigan gets a push, and they can turn this game to like a phone booth game, which they did against Penn State, right? It wasn't pretty the whole time, but if you can duplicate that, where it becomes ugly and gross, and you can sustain like 6 to 7 minute drives, I think Michigan has a chance. If not, they could lose by a lot. But I just, I don't know. I don't see it being one of those games. I think Michigan can hang.
It's rivalry week.
I know.
I think it'll be a close one. And I do think that, I don't think Michigan is going to win this game and watch there be egg on my face because... But I mean, if anything crazy is going to happen in college football in terms of like, hey, we don't give Michigan a chance, this is the week for it because it's rivalry week. Anything could happen.
Yeah. We just call it our dub. But if Michigan wins, you want like everybody's then going to have to refocus their playoff. Just like the whole situation changes. Michigan beats Ohio State, and I'm not saying they will. They probably won't. Then all of a sudden we have to recalibrate everything, right? Like, what do we do with Ohio State? Where are they in this mix? You know, like, and that's awesome. Now, all right, let's keep going. Bedlam. God damn, have you looked at the overall record of Bedlam? How bad Oklahoma State. I want to pull it up just to make sure I get this right, but I think I have it memorized because I did it earlier in the video. Oklahoma, I believe, is 18, 90, and 7 in Bedlam. 18, 90, and 7. Holy shit. Like, that's pretty bad if you're Oklahoma State, right? It's not much of a rivalry, but Oklahoma State is favored here. I have an opinion on this game. You're out on this game for opinion. So go ahead, break it down. Cause I have actually a strong opinion on Bedlam. I didn't put it in my picks and pints. I meant to. So I'm going to, I did
not put it in picks and pints. So I'm out on the picks of it. In terms of opinion on it, I'm staying far, far away because there's like a version of Oklahoma that you could get and a version that you might not get. So I'm like, it just depends on what version of Oklahoma shows up. So, cause I mean, they can beat them. Like, they can beat Oklahoma State. They technically are the better team. But the way that Oklahoma State has played consistency-wise,
they are not the better team. They threw Caleb Williams threw for less than 100 yards last week, Paige. They did win though, which is kind of crazy.
But I'm saying in terms of like getting wins like that, like we've seen this Oklahoma team play very, very poorly and still win. I'm just saying, fair. Like, if we get the version of them that is like slightly like, because again, it's like a hyped up environment that is like slightly more competitive and that was technically a playoff favorite at the beginning of the year. I know obviously situations have changed, but I think that they've won close games, and I don't like Oklahoma State. I mean, this rivalry is wild too. I mean,
it is
shout
wild.
out to Baker Mayfield and Mason Rudolph because they like brought that shit back to life.
They hate each other. This is good old fashioned hate. Well, the other element of that too, and I think you know where I'm leaning with this game, but the other element is and Mike Gundy talked about it. Like we don't know if they're going to play. Like this may be a Texas A&M thing because Oklahoma's leaving the conference. Maybe next year, right? Who knows? So, like Mike Gundy talked about the future of it and the future of Bedlam being in doubt, which makes me very sad. I think they'll figure out a way. Really I think they'll figure out a way to make this game. But this is going to be one of the cooler scenes in college football this year because Oklahoma State has just gotten the shit kicked out of it for literally 100 years. 100 years in this rivalry. They've won it twice since 2003. It's at home. They've got a playoff contender. Doesn't mean they're going to win. But in terms of atmospheres, like, this is going to be a doozy.
This is also, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels like one of the bigger games that Gundy's had to coach.
Yes.
In years. Because, like you said, like, this is potentially a playoff implication for his team. And, like, that nobody would have thought that at the beginning of the year. They're always towards the top of the Big 12, but never, like, there's always Baylor and Oklahoma and even Texas sometimes. Definitely not this year. But I don't know. Like, I think that Oklahoma probably pulls it out. Just, you want to know why I think that? Is because I think that this is the year that everything is set up so perfectly for the playoff committee to have, like, hard decisions to make. And if Oklahoma wins, it makes it a lot easier for them. And so that's why I think it happens.
Oh,
it's just
it totally
because of the bad juju with the CFP playoff. But I also think, like, I mean, I don't know, like, maybe it's just because I also have so much respect for Lincoln Riley. Like, again, like, they've played like shit and still won games.
It's pretty impressive. I mean, throwing for less than 100 yards and winning is like the anti-Oklahoma.
It's literally the anti-Oklahoma.
It's so weird. Just that game, Oklahoma-Iowa State was like the game of the Big 12 before the season. Both, you know, I can't say Oklahoma, they've disappointed. They've lost one game. I mean, they've recalibrated our expectations. But Iowa State has disappointed. And that was fascinating to see. But I am just excited for Bedlam. I really am. And also they have to keep that rivalry going. That would terrify me if it doesn't.
We talked about that, like, in terms of biggest disappointments, that, like, Oklahoma had, like, this is a bad season, but it's not like super disappointing in terms
Lost
of like
a game.
Yeah, like that's the thing is like Clemson is a completely different level of disappointment and all of that. Although they got the benefit of the doubt and are now ranked again, which is just absolutely hilarious.
When the bar is set this high, it's insane what we ask some of these coaches to do, and we can ridicule it. But no, they have not disappointed. And then Iron Bowl, our resident Alabama homer, you
Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide.
Pour me another glass of wine
Tide.
Here.
It's gonna be by 1,000. Thanks, Bo Nix.
Well, yeah, that could be. But are you? I gotta say, Alabama is clearly mortal. I mean, Bryce Young had to do some crazy shit for them to win that game. Bryce had an all-time game. If not for Stroud's all-time half, Bryce Young is like the faraway Heisman favorite. Now he's chasing him. But I can't really pinpoint. But again, we're being overly critical. What's wrong with Alabama?
Yeah.
But I can say I'm fascinated to see because I think this is a big spot for them.
They're incredibly undisciplined. Like, this is probably the most undisciplined Alabama team that we've seen in quite some time. Like, that I would say is probably it. I think that's part of the problem. Do I think they're getting there? Yes. Like, I do. I think, like, Bryce Young has stepped into, like, a leadership role. They've definitely started to figure things out. I mean, although there was that moment this weekend, I was telling you, sat down to dinner and like looked up at two TVs and like the Nebraska-Wisconsin game, right, was getting like a little wonky and crazy. And then the Arkansas-Alabama game, what happened? And then just everyone scored points. And I was like, okay, we're safe. The chaos is simmered. But yeah, no, I'm going with Alabama, obviously. I didn't bet on this game. It's just like a heart thing of like Alabama will win by quite a bit. And then let's get ready for the SEC championship.
I am too. I agree with you. We have to talk too. This is a fun podcast. We try to keep it light, but Cecil Hurt of the Tuscaloosa News, like hours before we came on, we found out that he had passed away, dealt with pneumonia. Mm-hmm. Oh God, Paige just hit me in the gut, and I'm going to try not to like break down thinking about it. So Cecil, you've met Cecil, like we covered Alabama, like we were around Alabama a lot. I was down in Tuscaloosa a lot. So when I'm getting started, Cecil is basically covered Alabama for 4 decades. I mean, just like is one of the all-time beat writers in any sport, any team, any city ever. And when I remember going down there just as a young reporter, meeting him and just like kind of being in awe of him, it was like meeting a historic coach. And so each time I would go down to Alabama, almost every time, we'd have lunch, we'd have dinner, we'd go to get beers, and I would just like want to listen. I like to talk. You probably know that now. But I would go and meet and just hear him talk because he was like an encyclopedia of like Alabama knowledge. I remember when I did a story where I sat by Nick Saban's statue for a day and talking with him about the idea and culturally what, like in workshopping it with him. And he was a mentor. He was phenomenal at his job. Like the outpouring of support that everybody, the college football internet has shared today is really meaningful. But a guy that like pretty much every visit down there, we were doing something. And he was always taking us to great places because he knew everybody and everybody liked him and he knew great food because he's been doing it for so long. That hit me in the gut coming on today because the guy was a rock star and he's beloved and we're going to miss him. That one hurts. That's talk about rivalry week and college football and this bond of like family and friendship. And God damn it, Cecil was the man and we love him. And cheers, Cecil. Yeah.
Cheers to him.
Yeah, he was.
I remember you telling me about him in that like you were like, hey, I'll probably when I go down to Alabama, I'm probably gonna go get dinner with Cecil. Like I remember because I mean obviously we were discussing like your trip or whatever, and I remember that very vividly and just the impact that he had on you. So when I did see that news, I just was crushed. And I know for that Alabama community, it's a rough thing, but I think for like all of college football and like people who cover it, like it's such a weird like family that we create with all of these people that work at other places. Like you would think that like there's like rivalries, but there's really not. It's just like a community because you're in the same places and you learn about each other and you spend a lot of time with these people and running into these people, especially people who stay local and are beat writers for certain things. Like you become close with them. So I can imagine that it's not just the like Alabama community. It's really the college football community that lost a good one.
He was very welcoming to like young writers, and he's been doing it forever. So if you're on Twitter, you follow people like that, you know what we're talking about already. But damn, oh damn, what a writer, what a great story. What every story he did, I wanted to read and just get story time with him. And every story I did on Alabama, or I was gonna do, I'd say, should I do this story? And he'd say most of the time, yes. Sometimes he'd say, it's kind of been done, right? I mean, yeah, just what a good thermometer. All right, with that, the very awkward transition of drinking and gambling on football games. But Cecil would appreciate that. I mean, he and I, that was our spot, Druid City in Tuscaloosa. So with that, layer cake, your neck of the woods. Bottle check. I still got about a half a bottle. I guess.
Still got a bit.
Yeah, I gotta brine some turkey. So,
this week we're changing it up. I needed to change it up because my juju has been so bad, you guys.
This is hard.
I also owe Adam a case of the Cutwater margaritas because we bet on SMU Cincinnati, and I text him in interesting shape while I was in Chapel Hill.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
What was our bet again?
I was like,
I looked at,
what did I say? I said Cutwater, and then you said no. What team? Or teams. Like that was. I was like, oh shit! Like that's a good sign.
Yeah, I was like, what teams? And then I remember sitting down to dinner, opening up my phone and being like, where's that score? No. Yeah. I was like, no, this is so bad. So we're starting over. We're starting fresh. I'm not going to try and get complicated with it. We're sticking with the basics. And we picked a lot of the same games, not necessarily the same teams. So we can go through those ones first. And then our last two are different.
Yes. And I'm going to just throw on there. I'm picking Oklahoma State minus the 4. That's just a bonus pick.
Interesting.
Go Pokes. Just saying. Bonus pick. Okay. Egg Bowl. Thanksgiving. I might as well get this bet in now because I think I'm probably going to be intoxicated from this point on through Thanksgiving. I love Mississippi State in this game. I really, they've done it. They've been outside of Alabama where they got their asses kicked. They've been really good against tougher opponents. You've got like a top 10 team that's an underdog against an unranked team. This is trouble for you, Paige, if you like Ole Miss. I'm just saying, this is a Mississippi State win, and something weird is going to happen in this game. I also kind of like the over. What's that?
Do you hear that?
Oh, no. Don't do... Oh, no. Oh, yeah, it's going to Miami. It's going to Miami. He's already downplaying the rivalry. Yeah, no, I hear it. It's the house music on South Beach at 3 a.m. is what I hear. That's where Lane is. No, we love you, Wayne. Come on the podcast.
Yeah, come talk to us when you go to Miami. We'll come visit in Miami.
Please.
We'll do a live show from Miami with Lane Kiffin.
Yes.
And drink Cutwaters.
Oh, God. Hopefully more than one, if I can stand.
Yeah.
So you're on Ole Miss.
I'm on Ole Miss. Let's go. Hottie toddy.
Okay, I'm on Oregon.
I also really like hot toddies, by the way. That's a great drink.
It is a good drink. Very good drink. I like the Ducks. Are you on the Ducks here?
I'm on the Ducks. So they're going to redeem themselves.
I think so, too. Oregon State is fun. I don't like betting against them. It's a good win against Arizona State.
They were our team earlier in the year. They were like our camaraderie team.
I don't know. I do know what happened to Oregon. They got their ass kicked, but I think they're better. And I think playing at home is going to help them a lot. Playing on the road, I think, is going to hurt Oregon State. All right. This is it for Coach O. Ed Orgeron, I mean, maybe he coaches in a bowl game if they win, but if not, this is the end of the road for Ed Orgeron, which actually makes me a little sad in unique ways. This is the perfect spot for him because he's going to put every possible piece of energy that he has remaining into covering this plus 6.5. Well, this is, and also USC, LSU, this isn't an interim job, but this is where he thrives, is like this kind of okay, Jimbo, $9 million man. I'm fired. I don't give a shit. Let's go. I like LSU plus 6.5 versus A&M. I think they can actually win that game too.
And guess what? I'm taking Texas A&M, which is actually a very rare case where I take Texas A&M. But I'm going with the Aggies. Sorry. I know you make a really good point about Coach O, but I think mentally, I think a lot of them are all checked out, whether it be players, coaches, whatever. I understand the coaching staff probably a little different. I'm thinking more player-wise.
They played pretty hard for him. Like, the defense has gotten way better. The under in this game, the total's like in the 40s. It could go under. I'm excited though. Like, Ed O, for all of his Ed O-isms, it was a ride, man. Like, it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here, but I want to see how he goes out, because I do think whether he wins or loses, you're going to see an animated version of him in this matchup.
I wish there was a bet on if he would cry or not in an interview, because I feel like there are going to be some tears in the presser or in the postgame interview.
Oh yeah, this is his dream job. Like, it's going away.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he's getting paid like $16 million for it to go away, so it's not so bad. But yes,
he'll be under the Ray Baker on the beach.
Now this next one fascinates me, and a little behind the scenes of our Bleacher Report. So I do locks of the week, and I wrote about Iowa, Nebraska, and I wrote Taylor Martinez. Instead of, did you see that today on the edits? Like, hey,
yes,
buddy,
I did.
You went to a Nebraska quarterback from 8 years ago. So Nebraska opened up as a 3.5 point favorite. They're now plus 1.5 because Martinez is out, which with shoulder surgery, which sounds actually pretty significant. I still like Nebraska.
Against Iowa?
Yes.
Can't believe you're doing it. I'm taking your Hawkeyes and you're rolling with your neighbor.
What's funny is I talked to Jason. He's already bet Iowa because he has this mentality in gambling, which is an interesting one. I don't know if we've talked about this, that if your team is playing, bet the other team. So no matter what happens, you feel joy, whether it's loyalty or financial joy. Now, I can't do that normally. Like, this is not that play with Iowa. This is a game that I circled like 4 months ago, and I was like, yeah, Iowa's going to lose that game. I was going to lose that game. So
this theory, I could do that with like Arizona football and like maybe the Niners. But like an Arizona loss brings me so much sadness that like even no amount of money would bring me joy, like betting on them. So I refuse to bet on the NCAA tournament because I'm like, nope.
It is not what I'm doing with Iowa, by the way, which I mean, if Wisconsin loses, like, Iowa could still go to the Big Ten championship, which is kind of hilarious. But, I still think this is a problem game for Iowa. Just saying. Do we have a bet on this? If that's the game, this is kind of I have to bet against Iowa for a pod. It's kind of fitting because of my Iowa ties. I'm in for this one.
Okay.
We could also go Egg Bowl. All right, let's go Egg Bowl. I'm in on Egg Bowl.
Let's do both. We'll do separate ones. Let's say, okay, so I already owe you Cutwater. Malort is having no part of this. No part of these bets.
I think
I'm just going to say that now. Egg Bowl, I think we have to do something in honor of the Lane Train. So maybe we can tweet at him and get him to pick an alcohol that one of us has to drink.
I like that. I think I'm in on that. And the Nebraska, the bet is probably just sadness because that's no matter the outcome, I think this game is going to deliver.
We'll do bottle of wine for that one.
One of these layer cake.
I will get you some fine wine from here. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. You've got to be sending the wine because of where you live. Yeah. Last one for me. Now this is where we go differently. Boise State minus 2.5 at San Diego State. This is hilarious. You are a West Coaster on the pod. This game is going to be played at 9 a.m. local time in California on Friday. Hilarious. It's a huge game. San Diego State has just lost once. Boise State's picked it up of late. I just think San Diego State's offense is just not been that great. So I'm going to go Boise State in the early, kegs and eggs version of college football.
I agree with you on that pick, by the way. I chose a different game because also, let me just explain. I have tried to pick the most obscure games. I've really actually stayed away from overs and unders this week. And I've stayed away from I used to be staying away from Power 5s. Now we're back in on the Power 5 thing. But I had to make an exception to the rule here.
This is great.
So I have Miami, Ohio +1 versus Kent State. I love this could just be potential madness. I just feel like, I mean, it's just beautiful. That I looked at it and went, sold.
So this is what, tomorrow night? Like, as we record this? When the hell is this game being played? Like, I'm going to definitely be drunk for this game. I'm in. Actually, I'm just looking at Maction scores now, and Northern is getting the shit kicked out of it. Wow.
It's actually at 9 a.m. on Saturday.
Oh, so they're actually... All right, my mistake. 9 a.m. Yes,
so Maction on Saturday.
Saturday, matinee Maction.
Saturday morning Maction. I will be in Las Vegas.
Oh, God bless. God. Pray for you.
I'm working live from Las Vegas this week, so just be ready for that content as well. Let's just... That's content in itself. That's not a good sign, because it's also like just so enticing to just bet on everything. Like,
oh no,
we're gonna obviously put money on these logs, but that's gonna be an interesting work day, to say the least.
All right, so this is a fun week. Any parting shots? I'm just excited. Disregard my tweets after about 1 p.m. Central Time on Thursday. Someone just take my phone and smash it over their knees so I can't communicate with the internet and I don't get fired. But any other parting shots? I'm excited. I am. This is my week. I can't believe it feels like it's been a much longer week than it has.
This is the Adam Kramer. We actually need to rename. We need to rename Rivalry Week because no one can say it, and it's Kegs and Eggs Week.
Kegs and Eggs Week. I got to go brine 2 glorious turkeys like right now with a bottle of wine. I mean, that's my heaven.
Life doesn't get any better than that.
It does not get any better than that. No. So
parting thoughts are, though, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Thank you for supporting our podcast. What else? Be safe. Don't drink and drive.
Correct.
Eat all the food. Wear stretchy pants.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's it for us this week.
And fry your turkeys.
And maybe ignore our tweets. Fry your turkeys and ignore our tweets after a certain time, because we will be drinking because we're both off on Thanksgiving.
That's a good
ignore our tweets Thursday.
Yes. All right. For Paige, I'm Adam. We'll talk to you guys next week.